going to start right away. My name is Fracis Mao. I work for Capcom, and it's our pleasure to always, we've given this panel quite a few times at Wondercon up in San Francisco, as well as San Diego. Has anybody been to one of these before?
Yeah.
So you guys still want to get into this? Good. So what the purpose of this actually is, we have a panel of my esteemed colleagues from Capcom, as well as from Treyarch, Activision, and Naughty Dog, companies down here in Southern Cal, and we get a chance to just talk to you. It's just to give you some tips and tricks and stories about how we got into business, and you'll find out there really is no one way. There's many ways, and hopefully we give you some insight. And then after this session, we'd be happy to talk outside some more with you guys if you want to talk some more. So first of all, how to get a job in the video game business? And in parentheses, you mean I don't get to play games all day? That's really what happens. Because ironically, being in the business, the amount of actual gameplay, unless you're a programmer or a game tester, is actually kind of minimal. It's almost maybe even less than, say, a fan or somebody takes a game home. You can really dig into it because we've got deadlines and all these other things to do. But today we have panelists that's going to explain the making of a game and the whole entire life process, from the making of the game to selling the game, creating all the graphics, all the promotional materials, all the events like WonderCon, and all the way through to editorial, writing about it, reviewing the game, and then most importantly, community, getting the word out about the product. And here is a list of some of the ways the folks on this panel got into the business. And as you see, no one two is alike. And then we'll tell you a little bit about these, okay? So I'm moving right along because the other panel cut into our time a little bit. I want to make sure we get everything out there. So, like I said, my name is Fracis Mao, and so I run creative services as well as events for Capcom. But prior to Capcom, I actually worked for GamePro magazine for like 17 years. Do we have any GamePro? And I was failing miserably because I'm supposed to be playing my Nintendo NES all the time, not studying. So I went into Toys R Us one day and I bought a copy of Contra for the NES, right? Yeah, remember that one? And in the bag they threw a copy of GamePro #1. And in the back page of it, I was flipping through it, it looked pretty cool. There was a ad where, if you send in a drawing of your favorite video game character, you get $100. So I was like, cool, I need the money. So I did this whole painting up, sent it in, didn't really think about it. But 2 weeks later, I got a call from GamePro. And I was like, oh, I won the contest? And they're like, no, fool. The contest is really for little kids, with crayons and markers. And I did this whole airbrush thing with 25 characters and all that. So, but they did buy it, and they used it as one of their first promotional pieces. And from that, I started doing freelance art for them for about 6 issues. And I was also an English major, which led to my law school. And I started writing reviews. And one thing led to another. 6 months later, they gave me a call and said, hey, we got a position out here in Redwood City, California. You want to come check it out? I said, sure, I'll go to California. They're paying for it. I get the free trip, right? Fly out, interview with them. And I thought, what the heck? So I told my parents, I'm going to quit law school. I'm going to get in the video game business. And my mom and dad said, you'll be back. I never went back.
Yeah.
So what's cool? So what's cool about that is I got to literally see the video game business from the beginning to its current form: 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, 567 bits, whatever it is right now. I've worked with actually many of these folks, got to meet a lot of cool people, and I've got to see this industry go from infancy to what it is right now, but it's still in like an infancy stage. The video game industry, although it's big money, big business, I would say it's still forming. And you see all the indie publishers out there, especially now with mobile games and apps like that. There's more opportunities now, I would say, than there was, say, maybe 10 years ago. Because there's so many different conduits into gaming. Working there, you're getting real work experience, you get that company on your resume. It doesn't matter you work for free, it matters what you did. So keep that in mind. But last but not least, I'm going to introduce Dan Amrich. Dan and I had the pleasure of working about 10 years ago at GamePro. Dan's going to bat the clean up right now.
I kind of want to address the elephant in the room first.
You're supposed to be hard to find, Waldo. You're in the first row. You're not even trying anymore. There he is. No, because if there's an achievement or something for spotting you, they want it. Hi, my name is Dan. I did work with Fracis for many years. Right now I'm the social media manager at Activision, which is the fanciest way to say corporate blogger I've ever heard in my life. Basically, if you love or hate any of Activision's games and you want to yell at someone on Twitter, that's me. I run a website called OneOfSwords. I run it like an editorial outlet. They kind of let me do my own thing. My situation is a little different in social media, but that's because of my experience. I started out reviewing video games professionally, which is to say getting money for it, in 1993. The first pre-release game that I reviewed was Eternal Champions. If anybody remembers that? I thought I was living the dream because what I got was a naked circuit board with chips that I had to shove into my Genesis and stuck coming back out because there was no plastic casing. So, I started in '93. I freelanced for anybody that would have me. I wrote for Wired magazine, a couple of articles that really helped my career. I wound up moving from New York to San Francisco. Worked with Fracis at GamePro for 7 years, just until I was vested in the stock program, so that's tip number one. When is it time to leave? When you're vested. Then I wound up working a little bit in advertorial, like what they call, can't even think of the name of it. Yeah, custom publishing, thank you. Which is to say that I helped write some of the sales brochures that retailers got for the Xbox 360, so that when people would come in and ask what is an interchangeable faceplate, I was helping to find that. Then I wound up getting back into games editorial a whole bit. So basically, I had a good 15-year run on reviewing games for a living. And you know, we started out this presentation with the idea that it's not just sitting around with your feet up and playing games. I, for one, always keep my feet on the floor when I play games in the office, but honestly, there's probably a lot more work to reviewing video games than people expect. For one, the back of my shirt, actually, you cannot see it. It says, "Nobody cares if you can save the princess." It's really not... it's really not about what a good gamer you are, because you really are a writer. We always need good freelance game reviewers who are focused on being a writer first and a gamer second. The gaming should be your specialty, but the writing should be your core skill. And that's something that, in working with a lot of younger writers, I noticed that they're super excited. I actually got a resume back in the 90s that said, we had made a mistake in a small magazine that I was working on. I was the fact-checking department. It was literally this: Dan, who put this game out? It was Cinematronics. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. I was wrong once. And I got a letter about it. You guys don't know what you're doing. You call yourselves a professional magazine. How dare you? You need somebody who knows what they're talking about. You need me. Hire me. Here's my resume. And we looked at the resume, and I swear to God, it was nothing but gaming achievements. I beat Super Punch-Out in 3 hours. I beat Final Fantasy in 3 days. I have played and mastered every game ever made for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And we looked at each other like, does this guy know how to write? I mean, he had the right attitude. We were like, sure, go for it. But he didn't know how to write. It was not about writing him. So that's the very first thing to remember. Really being able to play a game and understand what makes it work, what doesn't work. Even if it's subjective, every review is subjective. I'm not going to tell Vaughn, you made the wrong call with something that he's done for Black Ops. I'm going to say, I would have liked to have seen this differently. It is a personal opinion. So if you're going to write a review, you must have a personal opinion. You must back it up with your experience and what you played in the game. But it is primarily a writing thing. So I know I don't want to take too much time, but the core thing of how to get a job as a games reviewer, I started out actually in music journalism, and one of my editors said, hey, do you like video games? Would you be willing to do a little something extra? Hell yeah. But I started by writing music reviews simply by calling the editors and having the chutzpah to be like, hi, I'm a freelancer. I have some clips that I've got done in like the school paper and a local paper, and I want to know if you're looking for writers. And until I got a couple of yeses, and I got a couple of demos that didn't work out. But one of those calls turned into something. There are better ways to do it than to simply call. You can now email. You can, you can inquire through the press thing. But so yeah, everybody has said up till now, you have to be bold. You have to just go out there and do it. But you know, know who you are as a writer before you approach anybody. You need to be writing right now, all the time, and not necessarily always about video games. You know, as Kevin was saying, there was you can have a lot of different skills, and they can all boil into it. There's an old phrase that is "writer's right." The guy who was one of my mentors at Guitar World magazine in the early days was freelancing, writing not only bands' press releases for their new albums, but also like press releases about medical equipment. It was like incredibly boring crap that I never would have ever thought I'd want to do. So just remember that a good writer can write about anything. Broaden your scope, but specialize, and you know, don't be afraid to ask people. I do have a much longer version of this question, because this was the #1 question. When I worked with Fracis at GamePro, #1 question we got from everybody: how do I get your job? Nothing makes you feel more replaceable. We're doing a lousy job, how do I get it to do it right? I took a very long time to answer that in 78,000 words. 3 weeks ago I published the book, Critical Path, How to Review Video Games for a Living. You don't know if it's good. Yeah, this is available in both digital and print formats, but I really did want to come up with a long-form, serious answer to anybody that really does believe that this is, you know, this is the path you want. You like deadlines, you don't like having much of a social life, you do like playing every game till the end, you don't like getting a lot of money. There's a lot of downsides to it, but the job satisfaction is extremely high. And if there's nothing else that you walk away with, a lot of times the higher your job satisfaction for something like this, the lower your salary. So, you know, you have to be realistic about your chances, but yeah, focus on your writing skills first and foremost. If you have a teacher or a friend or somebody who is a professional writer, who has any writing experience, who can help you go over your writing a little bit at a time, you need to get your chops. You can't start at the top. I mean, you did. But, you know, hey, I want to work at Capcom, here you go. But, you know, I slogged through, I did the first 3 years in the industry as a freelancer, I did over 300 reviews just for one AOL site that doesn't exist anymore. I wonder if it was any good. But yeah, that's the key thing. Keep writing, and when you approach somebody, be realistic that you are going to be solving a problem for them as a freelancer. They would write it themselves, but they don't have the time. If you can fill a niche for somebody, if you like, hey, I'm great at wrestling games, or I'm the dude that knows the ins and outs of every football game every year. A lot of websites and magazines need a specialist. I was the Tony Hawk guy. I was the skateboarding guy, and then I became the music games guy. You know, people knew that they could rely on me for that. So while you're looking for your voice, also find out what your strengths are. If you can do Japanese RPGs, you'll work for the rest of your life. Oh yeah, I can do a 150-hour Japanese RPG, no problem. Editors at magazines and websites do not have the time generally to play that, so they will freelance that out. So consider, all that's in the book too, but really it's be a good writer before you try to get paid for it.
Thank you, Dan.